2003 Continental GT. This is the game changer. Up until the time that the Continental GT was launched, Bentley had been a very small bespoke car manufacturer producing around about 1,000 cars a year. This was launched, and within a decade Bentley was now the biggest global luxury high-performance brand in the world, and about 10,000 cars a year were leaving the Crewe factory. It was the first car to be developed all new underneath the VW group. It had all-wheel drive, it had a brand new 6-litre W12 layout engine, it had all-wheel drive, it would do nearly 200 miles an hour, and it became a global sensation. Almost as intelligent and as amazing as the design and the engineering was the price point. Basically, this car carved itself a brand new niche above the volume sports car manufacturers, but below the bespokes. There was nothing else like it, and frankly, 15 years on, there still isn't. You couldn't put a price on a Bentley like this, and I don't think its owner, Dr. Ian Andrews, would ever want to. This is the most successful, original-bodied, works racing Bentley in existence. It raced in 1928 at Newton in Belfast. It's a 4.5 litre Bentley, but not a blower Bentley, a naturally aspirated Bentley. It then raced at Phoenix Park, which is the Irish Grand Prix. It won the fastest ever endurance race at the time, the Brooklands 500, in 1929, and it finished 4th Bentley, 4th overall, and first 4.5 litre Bentley at the 1929 Le Mans. It's in glorious condition. Its owner, Dr. Andrews, has preserved the patina, has resisted the temptation to over-restore it, and still drives it regularly with the hood down, just as its makers intended. The Continental R, epitome of 1990s cool. By 1991, the Turbo R had started the process of rejuvenating the Bentley marque, showing enthusiasts around the world that Bentley was something different and performance-oriented. But the company needed something with a bit more pizzazz, a bit more sexiness to it. This was launched at Geneva in 1991, and it was a sensation. Turbo R, 6.75 litre V8 underneath the bonnet, handy turn of speed, and a beautifully coach-built 2-door coupe body. This particular example is one of the late models. It's a Continental R Mulliner, so it's got a lot of extra really lovely diamond quilted detailing inside, but this for a lot of people is a bit of a sleeper. It's a car that collectors are starting to take an increasing interest in, and I think you can see why. This car, the R-Type Continental, was launched in 1952, and it was, in a way, the first post-war Bentley that showed a separate existence to Rolls-Royce. It set a template for Bentley Grand Touring that even today Bentley's design team look back on, and they see things like the power line that goes through there. You can still see that in the evolution of today's Continental GT. When this car was launched, 1952, there was nothing else that could carry 4 people with a top speed of 120 miles an hour, could cruise at 100 miles an hour all day long. So it earned its title Continental, and basically it was so fast for the day that Dunlop had to develop a completely new set of tyres that would be strong enough to sustain those speeds with that sort of load on them. It's an amazing car, and I think at the time Autocar described it as a modern magic carpet, and I don't think there's a better description. It's also one of the most beautiful cars you'll ever clap eyes on. Yes, this is the Bentley 8 litre, launched in 1930, thought by many people to be W.O. Bentley's masterpiece. 8 litre straight 6 engine, guaranteed by Bentley Motors to be able to hit 100 miles an hour regardless of what bodywork you put on it. And W.O. Bentley himself said, "I've always wanted to build a 100 mile an hour dead silent motor car, and now I think we've done it." Unfortunately for W.O. Bentley, it was launched in 1930 and the Wall Street crash happened in 1929. So the market for these fabulously expensive motor cars was rapidly dwindling. And although the 8 litre was arguably a better car than the Rolls-Royce Phantom, Bentley had to go into liquidation, having produced about 100 of these cars. They're immensely powerful, and W.O. Bentley himself had one. He drove down to the south of France in it regularly, managed to do Calais to Cannes in less than a day before the night fell. So, extraordinary car, extraordinary times. This is the Bentayga. It was launched in 2015. It wasn't the first Bentley to have all-wheel drive. It wasn't the first Bentley to have a high ground clearance. In fact, you could argue that most of the Cricklewood Bentleys were designed for rougher road surfaces than many of these will ever encounter. But this was Bentley's first SUV, and that makes it a very significant car. It's designed to take the concept of grand touring to the parts of the world where the roads and the road surfaces aren't quite up to, say, European standards. It's got 6 litre twin turbo all new W12 engine, all wheel drive, and it will do an amazing 187 miles an hour. As well as the 6 litre W12, further versions were launched. There was the diesel 4.4 litres V8, and also the V8 petrol, and most recently the Bentayga hybrid, which offers you up to 31 miles of EV motoring in town with all the acceleration and performance you expect of a Bentley on the open road. The all-new Continental GT was launched in September 17 at the Frankfurt Motor Show. It was the 3rd generation Continental GT since the original of 2003, but it was the first one since 2003 with an all-new platform. That meant that the whole car is lighter, it's more agile, the wheelbase is longer, and the W12 engine is set further back in the chassis. Result is it holds the road better, it feels more alive, it feels more agile. Other technical features: 48 volt active anti-roll system. The engine itself has got all the latest technologies like variable displacement and stop start, and 2 forms of direct injection. Produces 626 horsepower, and it'll do 0 to 60 in about 3.6 seconds. And quite honestly, when you look at the design, little things like the lights here, which the design team claim were inspired by the craftsmanship of beautiful cut crystal whiskey tumblers. If you look at a car like this and it doesn't make your pulse beat a little faster, maybe it's time you booked an appointment with your doctor. today we've been celebrating a century of Bentley cars, a century of Bentley designs, everything from the XP2 onwards. I'm here with Stefan Silaf, who is the Director of Design for Bentley, and he and his team are responsible for bringing Bentley into the next century and setting the trends for another 100 years. So that's a bit of a responsibility, Stefan, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It is like a big pressure in our neck. On the one hand side, obviously, we want to celebrate the last 100 years. On the other side, we also, from the design department, want to show something that gives a prospect what is happening in the next, maybe not 100 years, but in the next maybe 25, 30 years. So obviously, we are creating a lot of ideas and working on objects, let's say, how to show, not only talking, but also showing how this could look like.
And what do you think about the Polaroids we've been taking? I mean, it's an extraordinary camera, and the images are quite remarkable. Have we done justice to your creation? I mean, what do you think of it?
I love it. I just discussed it with my team, and it's this warmth. You can't get with digital photography, and also the imperfection, and even all these kind of chemicals. So altogether, it is a ready-made piece of art.